Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm back playing Derail Valley. And what I've got going on today is I have two sets of logistics hauls going from the goods factory in town back to the harbor. But I've got a small problem. You see, I need these three cars and the back section of tanker cars way back there. And I don't need this car or these three tankers. And apparently just reloading the game did not fix this flat car. So, what I've got to do is I need to set up my locomotives and my caboose. Not going to need the caboose, but we're bringing it anyway. Because it's here, we might as well bring it along for the ride. We're going to grab... it's like we're going to grab this, couple to that flat car, pull it forward to get it off of its axle, or off of its truck, which is currently a little bit glitched out, but it's whatever. Pull it forward, back it up, hook it up to those three tanker cars, and then we're going to move all of that over onto this track right here. And then we're going to dump that off, disconnect from this flat car, disconnect from the tankers, and then we're just going to leave them sitting here temporarily. Then we're going to go get the tankers, and we're going to put them in front of these. Because, yeah, it's a couple thousand kilograms. It's not the end of the world. It's like 2,000 kilos difference between the two, so that should be a small enough difference that I don't think it's going to cause a string line derailment, but with my luck, it probably could. So we're going to go over here, make sure this is disconnected. It is. Make sure this is still connected. It is. And also make sure this is still connected. And because it will be on the test, it is connected back to front. Remember it, I will check later. Alright, but currently my remote's not paired with anything, so we're going to go up here. And something I might need to scratch my nose for a second there. Alright, no, put that away. Alright, set the independent brake, release the train brake, and we go in here, boom, boom, we're good. Alright, circuit breakers, all that fun stuff, we go over here, clip through the wall, because we might as well enjoy it while we can. We're getting really, really close to quarter two, but they're still saying June is probably the release time for the simulator update. But either way, when the simulator update comes, we can't walk through walls anymore. So enjoy it while you can. It'll be slightly more realistic-ish when simulator comes out. Up. There. Go over here. Now, I will say that it's interesting to note that there haven't been too many update videos this month, but it sounds like they've been pretty busy with like the translating project. So the recap video at the beginning of April probably isn't going to have a whole lot in it. But that's kind of to be expected. They did still put out a couple of videos. It's just this recap will be a little bit smaller. But the stuff that they did show is still really, really cool. You do have to give them that much. Alright. That. Now, as per usual, it's going to be a little bit weird given the fact that I have my caboose behind my locomotives. But you'll look right here, the caboose is 22,000 kilograms. That makes it heavier than even the refrigerated boxcar back there. So, if we're organizing things by weight, that has to be up front. And you absolutely can stringline Derail in Derail Valley, so do with that what you will. Although, that being said, even though yes, you can stringline Derail, it's not always because of weight. It's more often because the game hates you. I have a caboose. I don't need to use the train brake. Alright, whatever. It's done. We just have to roll with it. Throttle up, kick off the independent, and let me just curb your enthusiasm right there real quick. Hit the horn. Although we got to be a little bit careful in this area because one of these switches causes all kinds of problems. And verifying the game files does seem to help sometimes. But unless my computer is quite literally a ticking time bomb, and it keeps shuffling around the files arbitrarily, I'm not really doing anything by doing it too many times. And since the game still runs, I don't think it's corrupted. But then you see something like this, and then you're like, you know what? There might be a problem beneath the surface that I'm just not seeing. What's going to be interesting is what is going to happen to this car when we get coupled in. It's like when we get connected. It's currently propped up on the tanker car, so we're going to pull it off of that tanker car, but it's going to be interesting. Alright, make sure my mic's still going, headphones are still going, still got music, all that good stuff. Although I've had to make my background music significantly quieter because I've started doing collab streams. And we talk in Discord, and then even though the music is quiet relative to like Derail Valley, the music is extremely loud relative to Discord. And I haven't figured out how to get it straightened out. Or I haven't figured out how to balance it better between Discord and Streamlabs. I guess in theory I could add a audio input for Discord specifically, and then increase the volume of that as a thought. Alright. But it's something I just have to play around with. Okay. Well, I mean, we don't need that car. Alright. Guess we're just gonna send it and hope for the best. In theory, this should not be able to work. But since it is working, sort of, I guess we're just gonna roll with it. Oh yeah, that is just all messed up. The real problem is it's gonna burn a lot of diesel to do this stunt. Let's go with that. Because we're powering through the brakes on these cars. This game is weird sometimes. Easily the most bizarre thing I've seen in this game. And it's not even like I've seen like a lot of bizarre things. It's just some of them just really make you scratch your head, you know? Okay, now we're shoving the other way. Wonder if we could just rip them off. Like, since those aren't actually connected, if I just slam on the independent brake, can we just... No, we can't. It's like, they're not coupled. Not properly, anyway. They're on top of each other. Alright. Oh, I could have done that this whole time. Oh well. I could have just auto-coupled it and all of my problems would have been solved. The more you know. Guess realistically I should have just given that a shot right out of the gate. Alright, if we can get the reefer in there. Alright, so we don't need this. Disconnect that, disconnect that. We don't need this. You know, maybe I should, after I get done with this stream, just do some preventative maintenance and just reinstall my game. Because that's two weird things that were not fixed by restarting the game. Alright, disconnect this. Alright, now, in theory, there should be enough space that I should be able to get the caboose and locomotives past here without fouling the switch. Or without hitting it, but we're gonna find out. Alright, now we got a long way to go before we get to our tankers. Let's dial it back a little bit. Don't want to go flying through here when there's like a small chance of like a saw-by collision or whatever it's called. It's definitely a little close for comfort and probably not safe or legal, but there is no safety in Derail Valley. The FRA has no power here. Alright, perfect. Nice and slow. Alright, and this is LH2. Yep. Alright, we look right here. Put that right there. Grab this, turn on the air. And we run to the back. Make sure we've got air coupled all the way through. We do. So now we switch it to go forward, throttle up, kick off the independent, and let's go pick up our box cars and one flat car. Now the really good news is, once we get out of here, there is... I don't need to be up there. No, I need to be over here. Both of these loads are going to the same storage track at the harbor. So, all we gotta do is just shove them onto the D track and split them up. And it'll be really easy to split them up because it's just tankers and then reefer. Just cut between those. And then all is right in the world. But, as you've undoubtedly guessed, being as these are two logistics hauls, they are not warranting having two locomotives, but it's what we've got, so we're just gonna roll with it. Alright. Alright. So we get these past here, and then we'll get backed up to our reefer car back there. And you'll notice that an empty tanker is 19,000 kilograms, and that refrigerated boxcar is 21,000 kilograms. And normally I would make a slightly big deal about that, but it's 2,000 kilograms. I'm not worried about a weight issue or string line derailment with that specifically. It seems like it would be too small of a problem. Alright, so now we just gotta back up a little bit, get past this switch, get hooked up to this reefer, boxcar, and a flat car. It's like the most random logistics haul possible. 2 and 35. Yep, these are the correct ones. And then it's even weirder because why are we sending boxcars to the harbor? Like, what are we loading in them? Like, even better, what are we loading in a refrigerated boxcar? I know what's going in the tankers. Well, loosely. No. Okay. Quickly before it moves. This game is a little bit weird about that sometimes. Not gonna lie. Alright, so now we go back here. And we double check this valve. That valve is good. Alright, so we're going forward, throttle up, kick off the independent, and watch it go off into the distance. Fantastic. Alright, now the thing is, I need to go over here, and I need to figure out which one is the inbound track, because I need to be aligned with that. Alright, so all I gotta do is just flip the switch over here-ish, this switch. And as soon as we're past this, I just have to flip the switch so that it's aligned to go... Okay, not that switch. This switch. Yeah, this switch. I'll figure it out eventually. And as long as we drive carefully back to the harbor, shouldn't have any crazy issues come up. Granted, crazy things kind of come with the territory, but that's a whole nother thing. Alright, next we gotta flip this switch. Because whenever we come into the goods factory, I always come in that way over there. And then I come up here, go around this loop, and then back into the inbound track. So we're just going to come around this way in order to back in. Because even though those tracks are connected back there, and you can run around, but it can really only fit one of the locomotives. And right now I have 2 locomotives and a caboose. So that just isn't happening. Alright, so train is going to come past the passenger terminal. And it's going to come to this track. The proper thing to do would be to send it around the outside. Because over here, this is the not labeled track. So, like, this is the through track. And this one that I use is the runaround, or is the loading track. It's like, yeah, this is the loading track, so I'm not supposed to go through this one, but I do go through it because I'm the only one here. Who's gonna stop me? And not to mention, that is quite literally a straight line. Whereas going that way is just adding curves and making things complicated. Why not just take the path of least resistance? And then almost get run over by my own locomotive. It's a really good thing that the character in the game does not take damage. I would have died like a million times over. Even though I try to play Derail Valley in a safe sort of way, that still doesn't stop me from making bad, questionable decisions. Let me get a drink real quick. I'm trying to branch out and try some new things with my stream. So I've started playing other games. I've started playing with other streamers. It's getting interesting. Basically, streaming is getting a lot more kind of like fun, in a manner of speaking. I'm even starting to pick up some more things that try to make it look better. Like over the weekend, I was playing VTOL VR with a friend of mine, and I found out that I can set up a system where I have a spectator cam of sorts. It's already built into the game, so I don't have to add anything, but the spectator cam shows up on my desktop for anybody that's hypothetically watching you play in VR. So, like, that shows up on the desktop. And then my streaming program is recording what's in my headset. And then I can put a little window up in the corner of what's on the desktop. So, basically, I have, like, a simulated webcam in VTOL VR that's in the cockpit with me, or I can do another thing with it where Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades VR has a carried, like either a carried video camera or a rail mounted gun cam that, as long as I have the little spectator panel spawned, I can turn that on and I can put a gun cam up in the corner of the screen. That is like just crazy. The possibilities are endless. And the really cool thing about doing that way is I have a system in real life for when I play Airsoft. I haven't done it for a very long time. I actually need to get around to doing it someday, but I have a camera that I can mount to my airsoft gun. I also have a camera that I wear on my head, and that's how I make all of my YouTube videos. But it's just interesting because I have that little gun cam, and this is going downhill. I really should not just let this go on its own. Yeah, basically the bottom line is I'm learning a lot of cool stuff to make my streams like more involved and just looking better. You've probably noticed that in the lower right corner on my feed for my stream, I put in a text box that has a couple of custom commands for the Streamlabs CloudBot. There was already a default thing for a death counter, but there wasn't any way to reset it. So I had to ignore that completely and make my own custom death counter so that I could go back and set it to 0 so that it's just deaths for that stream and not like a global death count. And then I found out that by using that exact same system, I can put a counter for train derailments in Derail Valley. Now, the thing that's worth noting about that is the way that I play Derail Valley is not the most exciting. So, I don't generally do too many stupid things that would cause me to derail. But even with that being said, the game does sometimes cause some things to pop off the tracks, even if it's through no fault of my own. Although, admittedly, I do still have a couple that absolutely are my fault, but I try to keep those to a minimum. So, if I'm really lucky, I won't have to use my derail counter, but I figured out how to put it into my stream. So it's just little things that I'm trying to figure out and try to get them to work and make this look better and like I know what I'm doing. I don't, but fake it till you make it. The big thing is confidence. You have to feel, or you have to look like you know what you're doing. That is not a good life lesson, but it's whatever. Alright, so we are making our way to the harbor. Gotta go around a couple of like a double S bend. Then we have a straightaway. We're gonna pass through the steel mill, and then everything is aligned to get us back to the harbor. And then once we get to the harbor, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over here, drive nose first down the C loading track, and then back up, flip the switch going to G and D, flip the switch to D, go to the outer edge series of tracks, because that's where the oh wait, no, it's what is it, D5, yeah, outer left, back up into there, and we're golden. Dump these off, turn them in, swing by the roundhouse, refuel our locomotives, and we'll go from there. Luckily, we haven't used too much fuel, but we also are just leaving. Now, this is an extremely light load. I could probably turn off one of my locomotives and just have it be dead weight, but we don't have to throttle up so far if we use both of them. So running the engine is still burning diesel, but running it harder burns more diesel. So then there'd probably be like an equation or calculation I could do if I knew how to do it, where I could determine like how much fuel do we burn at this particular throttle position, like this RPM, and then compare it between the two engines. And we have the two engines on notch 1 or 2. Is it better or worse than one engine on notch 4? I simply don't know. But in my head, it makes sense that if I have the two engines on notch 2, I don't think I'm using as much fuel as one engine in notch 4. Or 5, for that matter. And then the really good news is it's mostly downhill until we get just outside of the steel mill, then it goes uphill. because it gets uphill right about here where the tutorial building is, because it was a real bad problem when I was bringing down the coal deliveries from the coal mine. I actually got stalled and had to apply sand. I think I even had to back up to try to like power up the hill. It was a fun time. Let's go with that. And the more you play the game, the more you start to figure out what the terrain is like. You start to learn the routes, the stations. Basically, you kind of get to the point where you can think of it like you would a real route on a real railroad. And you start to get to a point where it's almost like you're actually trained and certified to run in Derail Valley without an actual training curriculum or certification process. So it's kind of like you're working on a railroad without working on a railroad. Which is kind of fitting, considering I'm still actively trying to work for the railroad. But I'm literally on the last step before I can get a class date, and we just gotta get some final medical stuff straightened out. It's all like trivial stuff, but I've just got a couple of things I gotta get fixed before I can start training. And then I can actually be a conductor. And then depending on the needs of the terminal that I go to, I could very well become an engineer in the future. And that would be cool, because like when I originally decided, hey, I want to go work for the railroad, the first thing that came to mind is, hey, can I drive a train? Well, when I did my first job interview, it turns out, yes, you absolutely can learn how to drive a train. And it's not so much a question of can you do it, it's when. It's almost guaranteed that it's going to happen at some point. Your number is going to be called, and they're going to be like, congratulations, you're going to engine school. You don't have a choice. They even word it as a mandatory promotion. So it's like, let go of my arm. I'm not going to say no to an extra, like, 40 grand a year. It's like, oh no, what a horrible punishment. But that being said, I do know that there are some parts of this that, just like there are some bad parts about like driving a truck, the job can get dark. Like, you have post-traumatic stress, dark. And stuff like that means a lot of people would not keep doing it after stuff like that happens. Which is probably, if I had to go out on a limb and make an educated guess, I'm willing to bet that is why in the interview process, all of the companies I've been interviewed for, I've been determined to work for the railroad. Everyone that I've been interviewed by has asked, how do you handle, like, or have you ever experienced, like, an industrial or workplace accident, and how did you respond to it? So, I think that's a not so subtle way of saying this job can get pretty messed up. And then, like, when you start out as a truck driver, just being in school before you even get your commercial driver's license, they're outright going to tell you that the most dangerous place for a truck driver is on the side of the road. So if you have to stop for any reason and get out of the cab, make absolutely certain you're wearing something reflective. Make yourself as visible as humanly possible. Because that is a really good way for something bad to happen. And then even just hearing about the safety rules in regards to the railroad, like I said, I haven't gotten to training yet. It's coming, but I haven't gotten there yet. But just hearing about all of the stuff, like you get to the training facility and it's not like everything's a test, but they're watching how you do everything, and they're making notes of if you act in a way that would be unsafe, dangerous, if you do something that's going to get you killed, or even worse, is going to get somebody else killed, then maybe this isn't for you. So they're watching how you approach every scenario. Every situation that you're being trained to deal with, they're watching how you deal with it. And they're specifically looking for if you do it in a safe way that's not going to make you a liability to the company, to the public, to yourself. There's just a lot of things that it's like you essentially have to keep your head on a swivel because this is very dangerous. And most people that are like outside of the transportation industry don't realize how dangerous it is. But once you're inside of it, inside the industry in some way or another, you start to see some potentially bad things. Like, I won't go into too much detail about it because, well, I mean, I guess I could if somebody asked, but part of why I'm not actively driving trucks at the moment is because I witnessed a fatal accident. I didn't think it adversely affected me until the following night when I was back in my former company's terminal, and I heard the impact of somebody coupling up to a trailer. I just heard the bang of when the trailer pops up onto the fifth wheel and the kingpin gets locked inside of it and the jaws seal around it. I heard that clang, and it caused me to like jump out of bed, rip open the curtains, climb up into the passenger seat, because the last time I heard a loud bang, I got woken up at 3 in the morning and somebody a few vehicles back died. So I found out, oh, I guess I am affected by that. Luckily, that specific thing kind of faded. It's been a couple of months now, so I'm not experiencing that specific thing anymore. But it just goes to show that even some things that seem small can stay with you. And what I seen was relatively minimal. Some people aren't that lucky. But yeah, basically, driving trains can be dangerous and scary. Driving trucks can be dangerous and scary. Even if you ignore like the weird schedule that's not going to appeal to too many people, dealing with that alone takes a special kind of person to just be able to just shrug that off. Like, you have to have like a certain attitude or mindset about it going into this type of job. You have to be ready to deal with that. Like, it's going to be hard. So it kind of takes a special type of person to thrive under those types of working conditions. And then you throw in the fact that, oh, I can actually be killed doing this job. And sometimes there's like not even any way to prevent it. It just happens through things that are outside of your control. And from an outsider's perspective, you don't know that going in. It's just something to be aware of. Like, not only is the life difficult, you'll have an unconventional schedule. You might have a bizarre sleep schedule. You're going to work long hours. The job's going to kind of suck. There's going to be a lot of like manual labor type stuff. Then there's going to be some specialized like technical labor type stuff. And then you throw in like oh, by the way, it's also kind of dangerous, so keep your head on a swivel and keep your eyes open for anything that can possibly go wrong. And always remember what we call Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will. And over the years, I've added an extra step to that. Not only can whatever can go wrong will go wrong, it'll probably happen all at once. Then there's a book we had to read back in high school called Things Fall Apart. Well, one of the themes in that book, if I remember it correctly, is like a domino effect where like one thing goes wrong and then another thing and then another thing and then another thing, and it just starts cascading out until things are falling apart faster and you can put them back together. So you have to stay alert. Always watch everything that's going on around you. And the funny thing is, it took me a little while to get to the... Damn it. It took a little while to get to the point that I'm heavily focused on safety. I took some OSHA classes before I got out of the military, and I learned about things like how a near miss is a reportable incident. Alright. Nope. Come on. It did kind of break. But only that broke. And currently the locomotive is coupled from the front to the back. It's already switched. But yeah, I took a couple of classes on safety in the workplace, got a couple of like outreach certifications, all that fun stuff, and I started learning more about like safety in general. And when you start to learn about like all of the rules and stuff about why we have to do things a certain way, there was a saying that our instructors told us. Basically, all of our regulations are written in blood. So every time you think there's like a rule that says like keep 10 feet away from the car when it's moving, unless you're actually physically holding onto it and riding the car with 3 points of contact, you might think like, okay, this is dumb. Like, why do I have to do this? And then you realize that, oh wait, we do that because people have died doing this. And it's just interesting when you start learning all of that and you put it all together. Now we're going downhill, so I don't want to speed up, and I'm in the wrong place. And by that I mean I'm in the wrong place in real life. I moved closer to my computer so that I could type in my derail counter. I just mentioned it earlier in the stream, and we already got to use it. And this one was my fault. I was going at or slightly above the speed limit when I came around that corner, and couple that with the not perfectly balanced weight distribution and string line derailment. So it happens. On one hand, it is my fault, but on the other hand, it's like, is it really? We're talking about 2,000 kilograms. I mean, that is quite a few kilograms, but they're all empty. And why is the caboose so heavy? Why did they make the caboose 22,000 kilograms? It's heavier than the heaviest boxcar, or refrigerated boxcar. So if you want to get the weight closest to the powered vehicle, like we would with multiple trailers and trucks, then the caboose has to go up here because it weighs more than pretty much any other car. Empty car, not car with cargo. It just weighs more than any car specifically. Just empty, not loaded. Alright, we gotta slow down a little bit more so we don't pop off the tracks once again. The game's kind of funny like that. Now, generally, throughout this entire area, pretty much all the way back to the harbor itself, I try to keep it around 35. But because we're going downhill, I'm just letting gravity take us down and allow us to accelerate. So, the way that I try to approach these hills is I have not a safe speed, but a speed range. So I have like a high and low speed limit that I try to stay between. So for me, what I try to do is keep it between, say, 36 and 28. So I'll kick off the... it's like when I get to the lower end of my speed range, I should already have the brakes released so that they're building back up pressure. And then I leave the brakes off until I get to the high range of my speed limit. Then I apply the brakes again. And I pretty much just apply enough of the train brake that I see the speedometer start to fall. And then I can release the brakes, because you'll still be slowing down until pressure gets built back up. Yeah, you'll still be slowing down until the pipe pressure is back up to operating range. So you'll still be slowing down, so you need to ease off the brake before you get to your lower limit. And then once the cylinder's pressure, or the pipe's pressurized again, you'll start accelerating again. And then, as you can see, we get back here to the high range again, slow down until we get to about 30, release it, and we're golden. This area is a little bit crazy, and it causes some frame drop because there's a lot of stuff that has to spawn into the harbor. And, well, that's where we're going. Given how much stuff has to spawn at the harbor, I really shouldn't use it as my base of operations since I started streaming. But I like the harbor because that's where I get the cool jobs. It's the other places that I don't get as many of the quote-unquote cool jobs. Usually that's like your spicy, hazardous cargo. And as you can see, 2.3% down. So this spot right here is pretty steep. and it gets a little rough when you're carrying something heavy. And going downhill is like this never-ending battle of brake, release, brake, release, brake, release. You pretty much never have to touch the throttle unless you came to a complete stop, like you stupidly string-line derailed your first actual car. Hashtag relatable. Anyway, now we're coming up on our final descent into madness. And then we get to begin our adventure of getting everything set up and put away. Or, well, not put away yet. We gotta park the cars first. But that's going to be a process in and of itself. Alright, we gotta hop off on the right side, I think. Alright, do we got anything cool going out of the military base? Maybe, maybe not. If we've got nuclear flasks over there, I might do those. Those are always pretty cool. Extremely heavy, but pretty cool. In fact, let's go take a look. Yes, we do. Oh, and there's a lot of them. I can guarantee you this one is going to be heavy. We might actually need 3 locomotives just for those. Alright, so we go over here, and we get to this specific switch. And we pull in nose first into the C track. Then we gotta flip this switch. That switch is already going that way. This switch isn't. Alright, so now we're going to go forward into the loading track once again. Not the proper thing to do, but we're just going to deal with it. And then we're going to pull all the way in, because this is a actually pretty short train, if we're being completely honest. We pull past this switch, then we back up down this track, and then we back into the D and G branch right here, flip this switch so that we can go to the D track, and then we go over here, and I'm pretty sure 5S is left. Yeah, because that should be 6 and 7. Yeah, 6, 7. And then we go right here. Right, left. You need to go right. And of course, this is the shortest track. So we gotta fit, what is it, 9 cars in between these signs. Alright, let's make it happen. As you can see, I've kind of lost some speed. So we gotta run over to our locomotive. Alright, now maybe that'll be good enough. but it also might not be. Because there are still, like, the random, like, invisible walls and barriers on some of the switches, so that it could just, like, completely kill all of my speed, and then, oh, magically, instead of going forward, now we're going backwards. It has happened too many times. And I could try to set up a counter for something like that, but why? I'll be typing that command into the chat box way more times than when I'm failing to fly fighter jets in VTOL VR. Alright, so hit the independent. Probably should have started with the train brake, but it's whatever. Didn't even make it a car length past the switch. Alright, throttle up, kick off the independent, and let's get moving. Without even going into the office for the military base, I know the nuclear flasks are going up into the mountains, and the ammunition is probably going into the mountains. And both of those loads are, well, the nuclear flasks are very heavy, but the ammunition is kinda heavy. And I'm not kidding. There is a slim chance it might take 3 locomotives to get those up the hill. Alright, so once we're past this switch... Actually, no, once we're past that switch, flip that one to going left, because we'll usually come in and do like I just did, where I use the loading track to turn around, because nothing is ever stored on loading track. But the thing is, I need to make sure on that side of the switch, you kind of have to be, like, well past it. It's kind of weird. Like, there's a zone where if you're too close, it'll flip the switch. And we're gonna have to pay a fee on this car. 0.6% of damage. And as you can see, we've already hit our first invisible wall. And it's really bad. But we got to be really careful in this area specifically, because apparently 18 kilometers an hour is the magic number to just make a car just pop off the track. Even though the speed limit says you can go 50 through here, do not go 50 through here. 15 is probably safe. 50 is not. Even 20 is not safe. Which actually kind of makes it an interesting thing that they have the speed limit signs, but they're kind of like speed suggestions. Like, if you want to be safe and not derail, you probably should not be anywhere near that speed limit. Like, somebody was saying on Discord a couple of days back that they were like, yeah, if you were doing it like you would do it with a real railroad, you would probably be going 35 around 99% of the map. I don't know why, but that like stuck with me for some reason. Alright, that's aligned. Alright, now we gotta switch, or we have to break these apart after we get them dropped off. We don't really have to, but I'm going to. Because I want to be considerate of our imaginary yard workers. Sometimes, if I'm really feeling dedicated, I will go and I'll actually like uncouple them, or I'll push the back one like deep into the track and then pull the leading one like car length apart so you can visibly see there's a difference between cuts of cars. But I think the last couple of times that I've done this, I haven't done it that way. That would probably be a good practice, but like AI trains and stuff like that are like so far off in the distant future that it's like not even considered as something that's coming anytime soon. Let's take a look at this. Alright, check this out. You see these parking spaces? These are really, really close to the tracks. As a truck driver, I feel pretty confident in saying we're not the sharpest tools in the shed. Someone absolutely is going to back up a trailer way too far. Like, there should be like a wall of Jersey barriers right here at an absolute minimum, because someone is going to back up too far and get their trailer wrecked by a train. And then you go over here, and I mean, good on them for having the parking spaces as dedicated side back, and they're like angled like this. So that's considerate of them. It's just, this is a road. Like, a sleeper cab tractor is going to have a real hard time getting backed into here. And not to mention the fact that you have to go in, turn around, come back, pull over this way, turn this way, and then cut back into the parking spot. It can be done. In fact, I've definitely been to yards smaller than this. It's not fun to do. But at least they're angled, so that's good. It's just having this right next to the tracks is literally an accident waiting to happen. If you were cleaning out this container, like sweeping it out, you'd have like the doors open. It's bad enough when you have the doors ripped off by like another tractor trailer. Imagine the fun time you would have of just the simple physics equation of the force of a train hitting that door. So, yeah, I would not want that there if I was managing the yard. So bonus points for making it easy to back in there, or for making it easier to back in, but you kind of lose some points for making it like in a bad spot that you're just gonna back up a trailer into a train. And normally I would have commented on the fact that the coupling got switched from the caboose to the leading car, but I can't complain about that because after the derailment I had it auto couple. This one, however, did not come uncoupled, so it should have been in the position that I left it in, but it's not in that position. This one moved. That one might have moved, but I can't really be sure because I didn't look at it after I pressed the auto couple button. Well, for starters, I need to disconnect the air hoses. Had a brief moment of pause where I was like horribly confused. Like I thought I left it coupled, but no, I just forgot to disconnect the hose. It happens. It's kind of like whatever. Because I auto-coupled the caboose to the tanker and then the tanker to the other tanker. So I don't really know what position it was in because I didn't look. But that's going to be interesting in and of itself because if I play on the realistic difficulty, which I'm pretty confident that's what I'm going to do, like I'm probably gonna set up my legacy save with the standard difficulty, unlock the new licenses because I've currently got just shy of $2 million. So probably going to get the licenses for the new locomotives using my legacy save so that I have them unlocked for sandbox mode. And then I'm going to start from square one with a brand new save on the realistic difficulty when Simulator comes out. And by playing unrealistic, there will be no more remote coupling. But I also won't be able to use this with the DE6s anyway. But that's because, let's be honest, the DE6 is extremely powerful, and it probably should not be used for switching cars in a rail yard. It can be done, it's done in real life, but it's not a good idea with the way the game is set up. So I kind of understand why we're losing the ability to remote control these. I'm going to take a step back because this is going to take off like a rocket. And it can either go forward and stay on the track, or it can go up. It's anyone's guess which way it's going to go. And then we go over to this switch right here. And after we're past this, we flip the switch going back to G, so that you can go through the yard if you come in the back end of the G track. Is the C and D tracks are dead ends. They just go down the pier for their respective freight terminals. But E, F, and G are all terminals you can just drive through. And then we go over here, and it's right here. We get to this point, flip this switch so that we're aligned with E again. And then I guess I should have went over and paid, or got, not the paid, well, I'm going to pay, but gotta turn in the job booklets. D5S, D5S. Okay. Alright. Yeah, 13,000, 6,000. And it's gonna be like $6,000 per locomotive, and then tack on an extra $192 for breaking one of the cars. I scratched the paint on it. It'll be fine. It'll just add to the environmental fees of refuel, or of paying for these. I literally just got a caboose. What are you struggling with? I don't think they're fundamentally changing any of the models, but it would be kind of cool if you could actually walk between the locomotives. And now that I found out, this actually does work. Yeah, the last time that I streamed, I did kind of like a test where I wanted to see if the handbrake on the caboose actually did anything. And then I locked it in place, and you could hear it creaking as it was slowing down the locomotives it was connected to. And then I thought I released it, but I found out I didn't release it completely, and it was still screeching because it was still applying the brakes, so I had to turn it just like partially to turn it all the way off. And it was just really cool. Like, I didn't know that actually worked. I, for one, am looking forward to it having the little red notch on it so that you can tell if it's applied or not. And I'm also looking forward to seeing handbrakes on all of the cars and locomotives. The thing I'm curious about is where is it gonna be on the DE6? We know where it's gonna be on the DE2, but I don't know where it's going to be on the 6. I don't think I've seen it in any of the clips. And then realistically, we don't know much of anything about the DH4, DM3, or the SH060, or even the DE6 Slug for that matter. We haven't seen much of anything on those. Oh, and I guess that being said, we also don't know where it's going to be on the 282 either. Alright, we gotta speed up a little bit because this spot right before it gets on the turntable is another one of those invisible walls that we all love so much. And one of two things can happen. When you hit that invisible wall, it can either slow down or derail. Alright, now we go up here, kill that, and kill that. Clip through reality, and let's fill it up. Oh, actually, we don't need to do that yet. Didn't touch the sand. Barely used any of the oil. No body damage. A little bit of wheel damage, but not bad. $7 grand. So basically, those two jobs didn't even pay for one of the locomotives. So, got that going for us. But the good news is that nuclear flask job will more than pay for this, like 100 times over. Alright, not there yet. I'm really looking forward to the simulator update because we don't have to do this anymore. We can just connect one of them with the hose, and we can refuel all of them. Alright, let's go up here, clip through reality, kill the engine, neutral, applied, released. It's not going to be like that when I look at it again, but it's a nice thought. Alright, clip through reality, and this should be another $7,000. And then it should be about 300 a piece for the environmental fees, tack on an extra 200 for the damage to the car that I derailed. And basically, fun for the whole family. Alright, so we've got 2 of those. Alright. Let's go deal with the damage. I mean, the good news is we can just go over here to the caboose. Fees. Okay, it's closer to 400 for the locomotives. And we've lost money, but it's whatever. Alright, let's go over to the military base and get an idea of what we're working on next. Anything cool? I guess it's not that bad. It's only 522 or 522 tons, 200 tons, and then 66 tons. So yeah. All right, we'll take all 3 of those next time. And then I can run over to the civilian station office and get an idea of if there's anything going specifically to like the steel mill or goods factory. But I might not do that. Oh boy. Because those are going to be kind of heavy. Alright, it looks like argon and oxygen. I mean, we could cause all kinds of problems and bring this to the steel mill. Ooh, this is going to Oil Well North. That would be interesting. There's a couple of things going to the goods factory. Couple of things going to the steel mill. Yeah, probably the military stuff is going to be the best bet. Alright, so let's just go over there. Although realistically what's going to happen is I'm going to... Because I've had some weird visual things happen in the game up to this point, I'm probably going to, when I do end my stream, I'm probably gonna validate my files for Derail Valley on Steam to see if I can figure out what's going on with everything. And when I do that, there's a slim chance that it might reset the jobs, but I don't know with any degree of certainty. That might not do anything at all, or it might cause a problem and mess up everything. I'll have to wait and see. Although I have done the revalidation and reinstalling a couple of times, and I still have my locomotives. So if those aren't messed up, I don't think the jobs will be messed up either. But there's a slim chance. I don't know yet. Oh, this one's 70. Now that would be funny. Because I have locomotives 76 and 77. I need to float the idea of getting ready to carry around a DE2, or more than likely I'll probably carry a DH4 because it'll be a little bit bigger and probably have a bigger carrying capacity. But I need to bring a shunting locomotive and slap it onto the back of my locomotives, because that's what I'm going to pair the remote with, because I won't be able to use the remote with the DE6s anymore, so I need to bring a shunter along so that I have something to remote control and use in the yards to build my trains. Because there's no point in using the DE6s to build the consist. Instead, we're just going to park them over by the exit and then just use the DE2 to get everything in position. And then if I encounter anything where I'm dealing with an extremely heavy load, I can probably pair the shunter with a DE6 for extra power. Yeah, and that'll just be the game plan. So, as a bit of a recap of everything that I've accomplished in this stream, had to do some creative yard switching operations back at the goods factory, where I had to dig out a couple of logistics missions, and then we got those built up and brought them from the goods factory back to the harbor. Got them parked over there on the D track, got everything back aligned to go through the harbor from one end to the other. And we've got everything refueled and set up to pick up where we left off on Wednesday, which is the next time that I have scheduled to stream Derail Valley. Basically, I've been trying to mix it up and play a few more different games on stream, and I don't have those scheduled. They're kind of more spontaneous, and it's like, hey, I feel like doing this today. And then that's just what I do and how I do it. So, got everything set up in a good, hard status, if you will. And yeah, that's about it. So this seems like as good of a stopping point as any. So this has been Derail Valley. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.